Hello, wonderful, beautiful people in Christ Jesus and everyone who also is not. Everybody, it's been a minute since I have made a video on this channel, and the Lord had kept nudging me that He wanted me to make my testimony again, but He made it clear that He wanted me to go into more detail this time. And so, as you know, testimonies, how they usually go, talking about hardships and things like that, If you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Crystal Love for Jesus, and I was not always Crystal Love for Jesus. So, growing up, I grew up in a family that did not believe in God, didn't tell me about Jesus. I grew up with my mom and my dad and 3 older brothers. My dad was in the military. He moved around a lot. We moved to Italy when I was like 2 to like 4. We came back to the United States. And most of my testimony kind of starts around, I guess 10 years old. So when my dad got stationed over in North Carolina, I'm not sure. I think it was Fort Bragg. I'm not 100% about that, but yeah. So stationed over there. I grew up where my dad was an alcoholic. He still is. But, and my mother, she read a lot of romance novels and locking herself in the bedroom. And so from like the age of 9 to 10 years old, kind of like my situation growing up was getting bullied in school, and also by my older brothers. They would roughhouse with me like an older brother would, I guess, but sometimes a little too rough, and I usually would get hurt. So like my memories are like my dad, he'd be in the military. As soon as he would come home, he would just start drinking beer, and he would be drunk like every day when he would come home, which was like really hard for me. My mom was always locked up in her room reading her books, romance novels. And my brothers are about 5. So my 3 older brothers one's 5 years older than me. The next one's, I think, 6 years older than the oldest one's 10 years apart from me. And so they were like, 15, 16, and then like 17, 16, 17 around that time. But like my brothers were getting into a lot of like mischievous things, going out and seeing girls, and like drinking, and like smoking weed and stuff like that. I don't know what else. I think those are just the only, I know they've done other things, but basically like sneaking and hiding into their bedroom. And so, I didn't really have anybody to confide in. I was always like shut out. Like my dad would always be drunk every day, so he would just be like sitting on the front porch listening to music and drinking booze. So he'd be like in his zone now, and my mother would be in the bedroom with the door closed reading romance novels, and she would just be gone. And then my older brothers would be in their room, and they would always close the door in my face, and they would always be gone. Like I would knock on the door, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Let me in. I need someone. I need, I need to spend time with somebody. Like, I need to have somebody who I can confide in or just be included, But I was always shut out. The one thing that has always been a struggle in my life was always being shut out all the time from everybody. You know, like your dad can be there, but he's always drunk, so it's like he's not, you know. And my mom, I don't know what she was dealing with. She was always upset my dad was drinking, and she would just hide in her room and read books. And yeah, my dad would always like, you know, tell my brothers like to protect me and like keep me away from like bad stuff. And because they were doing bad things, I was always had the door closed in my face. And so that's kind of like how I grew up, was alone, with the door always closed in my face, and I would try to like be a part of my brothers' lives, you know. I had nobody to turn to, you know. Nobody to help me deal with my emotions or anything, you know. And so like to this day I still have like difficulty when things will make me feel like anytime something happens to where I feel like I'm being left out or like the door closed on me, I'll have kind of like emotional trauma, you know, like freak outs, like I'm being left out, you know. So that's like something that I overcoming. I feel like that I've mostly overcome at this point in my life. I didn't know God, and so like I had nobody, just a couple friends in the neighborhood that like my next door neighbor. I'd play with the kids outside, you know, and like sometimes I would like have kids to play with, you know, but like no mentorship, no like close friendship with anybody, and like just constantly left out, you know. And my neighbor Amber from across the street, they were a Christian family that moved in, and she told me about Jesus once, and she told me about how one man lived perfectly, and he gave his free ticket to heaven to us. And I just said, well, I just believe evolution, and that a meteor hit the earth, and like what they teach you in school, you know, that a meteor killed the dinosaurs, and like here we are, you know. And I was just like, you know, that's just what I was taught and what I believed. And my oldest brother at that age, you know, he would tell me, don't ever be a Christian, don't ever believe that Jesus is real, you know, because like I've already done all the research, I already know like it's not true and stuff, you know. My parents went through a lot, and there was a lot of unfaithfulness that I just wasn't aware of. My mind was very ignorant and innocent ignorance. I just didn't know what was going on with my parents, you know. I just never thought like, oh, my parents, you know, are like, yeah, I had no idea. But there's a lot of unfaithfulness going on. And so my mother got caught, decided that she was leaving and taking me with her. And she just lied to me and told me that my grandma was sick, and that's why we were leaving, you know. So like I was just clueless. I was just a clueless, ignorant kind of a child, you know, that got left out of a lot of things and got picked on at school. And family never told us about God, you know. And so moving on, growing up, I went through relationships, you know. I left home at like 18, I think, to California, and moved in with a boyfriend's family, and was always lost all the time, always codependent on somebody. I always needed to be with somebody because I couldn't be alone. I never had anything against God. I just didn't know that he was real. I just thought that he wasn't because of what I was taught in school and what my older brother would tell me. I went through relationship to relationship. My parents eventually got divorced. There was, well, let me backtrack a little bit. There was some other like messed up scenarios in my life where like my dad would get into fights with my oldest brother. They were both drinking, and this one day, I think I was like 15, and I came home from school and I heard the yelling as usual, and so I didn't look over to see like what they were doing, I just come in and hear the yelling, and so I'm just like, okay, like, so I go to my room and I put my backpack in my room, and then I come out because everything's quiet at this point. And I come out and there's my dad on the floor with blood all over the floor and a chunk of his cheek just hanging off. And I screamed, "Dad!" And then he like woke up abruptly, and I called my mom like, I don't know what to do, and she's like, well, just try to put his cheek back on, basically, Sorry for those who don't like imagery like that, but that's just something messed up that I had to deal with, It's just like my dad being drunk, and that was my life, and I didn't get to be close with my brothers. They never hugged me until they were like 20, and they like moved out of the house. Then they actually would give me a hug when we would see each other. And then fast forwarding back, I just had to deal with messed up scenarios like that, and then just like being in bad relationships with people who were porn addicts or had anger problems, or like one relationship, this guy's threatening that he has a gun, so I'm like, peace out, gotta leave you then, gotta get out of here. By the time I got to high school, my next encounter that I can remember with God was that he took me to his church, and his behavior is by no means that he was actually a Christian. He just went there because he liked to play in the band and the drums. And so I think I was 16 or 17 at this point, and in high school. And so I went to his church, and I remember sitting down in the church, and I just felt so uncomfortable because I felt like out of place, because I felt like church is just a place where you go for people who believe, but I don't. And so I felt like weird and uncomfortable. And so I couldn't even explain that, and so that was my next encounter. So I kept bouncing from relationship to relationship, and was in some really bad relationships. And so by the age of 22, I had moved back to Washington I live in Washington State, but I was in California for a while. So I moved back to Washington State. My friend from high school told me, why don't you just go on Match.com? Because I was like so stressed and like just having such a horrible time meeting just the wrong people. And so I went on Match.com, and I would say within the first month, 2 months, I went on a couple dates, but then I met my husband, and his name's Mark, and he's 3 years older than me. So he messaged me, and I actually missed his message because I had so many people messaging me that like he was like 4 or 5 pages back of like in my inbox. And so I know now it was God, but like something told me, go back through your inbox and look for, just in case you miss someone. And I'm like, I should go back, like I know God was the one that gave me that thought, it was like, go back and make sure you didn't forget or like miss someone. And so I go back and I see Mark's message, and I was like, oh my gosh, he messaged me. I didn't even know. And it'd been like a month, you guys. Like, do you want to talk to somebody after a month of like them not getting back to you? So, but anyways, yeah, he got back to me. We were just like, hey, what's up, and we did a Skype call and met in person and everything. And that was when my life started to change and turn around for the good. And so after I met Mark, we started dating, and I think it was after a year or 9 months, somewhere around there, during that time of dating, he asked me, like, do you believe in God? Because I do, like, I'm a Christian. And I was like, well, no, I don't. And that really concerned him. And he said, well, what if we have a kid? What if we had a kid? What if you got pregnant or whatever? He was like, do you believe in abortions? I think is what he said. And I was like, well, yeah, I would have an abortion. But my mind was sinking, like, as an unbeliever. I don't know why. I feel like we get programmed to think like an abortion isn't really a big deal. Like, I don't even know what it looks like. I don't really know what happens, And like in my head, I was picturing like, okay, somebody who probably doesn't want to marry me, probably wouldn't want to be with me or have the baby, then yes, I would get an abortion because like they would just, the dad would just abandon me anyways. Basically, that's how my mind worked. And so he was really did not like that answer. And I was like, well, I mean, I don't have to I don't have to do it. And like, obviously now as a Christian, I would never do that, ever, obviously. But like when you're an atheist, when you're an unbeliever, like you are so in darkness, like you don't even have control over sin in your life. Like you don't even know what you're doing half the time. Like I didn't know what I was doing half the time. Like there were so many times where I made decisions in my life just with people and things, and I'm like, who is this person? Like, why would I ever do that? Like it was so confusing. Like some of the decisions I made, I was just like, I don't know. It was like nothing mattered. And yeah, so it's crazy to think about that. But I'd never had an abortion before, but yeah, so he prayed for me, and he said that he was actually thinking about leaving me, but God had other plans. Yeah, I mean, eventually he said, like, well, I'm starting to feel convicted about fornicating. I'm starting to feel convicted about, like, our fornication. So, like, I'm trying to, like, separate and, like, stay apart, basically. So we tried that, and it wasn't working. And so I was like, oh no, well, what does that mean? I don't understand. I don't know anything about Christianity. I don't know about conviction. I didn't know that. I didn't know before getting married that fornication was even a sin. Like, I don't know anything, So I'm like, so we need to get married. So then we need to get married then, like, right? I had a plan in my head. I basically asked him to marry me. I just picked out this random ring when we were at a festival, and when we were in my bedroom, I was just like, I'm gonna ask you a serious question. And I was like, will you marry me? And he was like, yes. And then he's like, will you marry me? And I'm like, yes, I will, and then we hugged and everything. And then we worked on getting me this ring right here. And that is like the beginning start of my journey as a Christian. And so before I asked him to marry me, I became a Christian, because I wanted to know, why does this super handsome hot guy believe in God? Because as an atheist, we think like, well, Christians are stupid. You are so dumb to believe that God is real. You are so dumb to believe that God is real. Like, it's stupid. There's all this evidence, right? And it's like, no, actually there's all this evidence that God is real, right? But that's just the way, as an unbelieving brain works. That's just the way that my thought worked. It's like the way I'm programmed. I was trained, and so I started searching for Jesus. I was like, what about the dinosaurs? okay, well, is Sodom and Gomorrah a real place? And it's like, yes, you can still find the brimstones. Dinosaurs did walk the earth. They actually walked with man. Man used to be way bigger than they are now. There's just like all kinds of great information out there. You just have to find it. The Grand Canyon was made from all the flood running back off of the earth. That's how the Grand Canyon was made. Like, bam, makes perfect sense. And so that was my journey into, like becoming a Christian and kind of like the things that I had to deal with as a kid and like being alone and, just like being around alcoholism. And so, like, that was one thing in my life where I said, like, I will not be with somebody who drinks alcohol. Like, you cannot drink alcohol if you want to be with me, like, period. And so that was like one of my stipulations that I told Mark. I was like, you cannot drink ever because it traumatizes me because of my dad being a different person and like how I was always like a daddy's girl growing up, and I would just get so upset when he would drink and like be different. He was still really nice. My dad was still a nice person when he was drunk. He would just listen to music and be chilling, and he was still nice. He just like, you couldn't have like a real conversation with him or anything, it's just there. So, there was no growth in conversation of like how to do things when you get older and like how to process anything, there was just like, there was no communication. It was just like so surface. But it was very traumatizing for me. Of course, my husband, he had already done the whole like getting drunk as a teenager and like going out and getting wasted and, doing all those things. And so he was okay with not drinking at all, and yeah, so I went from Crystal not knows Jesus to Crystal love for Jesus. And I would never go back. Definitely, I would never become an unbeliever ever again, because how can you when, like, after I became a Christian, I started reading my Bible and I started hearing from God. I started having experiences with God. Like, I asked God to heal me and I got healed of a headache. I was like, I had a headache and I asked God to heal me and my headache was gone. Like, there's so many other instances, of God just showing up in my life. And I prayed for my older brother to come to Christ, and he was like antichrist Christian hater. He loved to argue with Christians. He's like total Satanist, worshiping demonic. Like, he was the one telling me to not, believe in Jesus and stuff. And like, now he's going to church. He's got a Bible. He's actually reading his Bible here and there. He's been like praying before eating. Come on, what? Like, how crazy is that, to like see God answering prayers and things starting to move in your life that you, as an unbeliever, you don't have anybody to talk to. You don't have anybody who can change the future, who can help you with situations, who can help you with problems. But when you have God, literally, you can have so much peace in your life because he helps you with every single part of your life. Like, I can pray for my dad now that he's going to be okay and that he's going to be saved, and that I pray for my dad all the time for God to just protect his life from just falling over, dying. And he's done that. Like, my dad literally hit a freaking deer and it just, like, nothing happened to him. My dad's truck went off of a freaking hill. Like, he slid and a tree caught him right before the cliff a tree stopped his truck. Like, he should have been dead. But there was a perfect tree right there to block him from just his truck going off the cliff. Like, there's so many instances where God has been answering my prayers, and I I think maybe the Lord wants me to talk about my difficulties now as a Christian are still, it's more of the common Christian life. It's like you go from an unbelieving life hardships to a Christian life hardships, and then your hardships are like struggling with sins, like when I didn't have a whole lot of money, like in my 20s, I'm 36 now, but like when I was 24, 23, 24, like I didn't have a lot of money and I worked at a mall and there were things that I wanted them so bad that I would just start stealing them, and the Lord delivered me from any ever stealing again. He's delivered me from like a lot of different things. Video game addiction, he delivered me from that. Just like helping me through a lot of things and helping me see. But I think one of the biggest things about the hardships of being a Christian is that how your relationships change. Like my relationships with my family and like my brothers and their wives changed a lot, especially one of my sister-in-laws. Like she used to be nice to me when I was an unbeliever, and when I became a Christian, that was gone. Like she literally gives me so much trouble. Like it's like she hates me now, like without a cause. Exactly what Jesus said. They will hate you without a cause. That's exactly what I go through now, is being hated without a cause and going through so much trouble and turmoil with trying to interact with my unbelieving family members now, that is like such a struggle for me. And like I've been trying to just be completely separated, like just not even, I tried to like not talk to them so much, but my family is like, they always got to get together for Christmas and every birthday and Easter, and like, my family's like that, where they like get together for everything, and like I'm trying to like stay away, stay separated, so that they their attitude and the way that an unbeliever just responds and reacts to things is so different, like so unloving, so not nice, not giving, not forgiving, like just so different than what a Christian's supposed to be, and so that's something that I struggle with a lot, is just like, man, I just want to be around people who are nice. Like, I just want to be around people who are really sweet and really loving and really giving and kind. Like, you ask them to help you with something and they're like, yeah, sure, You ask them for a favor and it's like, they'll do it, Like, it's just so annoying to be, like, in environments where people don't like to say sorry and don't like to admit that they've done anything wrong. Like, it's just a part of being a Christian now, is like, you admit when you're wrong, you say sorry, you forgive, you be nice, you give if you have something, like so yeah, like your friendships change, your relationships change, you become more isolated. And so that's like difficult for me, because the way I grew up was being isolated. But now as a Christian, now you're being isolated even more, and so that's like really a struggle for me. And yeah, that's pretty much my testimony. And now I just love Jesus. He's helped me so much. He loved me. He will never let me down. He's the only person that will never let me down. And I know that I can count on him now. Like, I have somebody. Like, I didn't have anybody when I was 10, 12, 13, all the way to, 23 years old. I didn't have anybody to help me, to confide in. Like, and God, he's everything. He's everything that you need. Literally, I'm telling you. Like, he's a real person. He's a real God. It's not just, something to make you feel better. Like, God is literally real. He answers prayers. He's done things, so many things in my life, to where like I know that he's real now. It's not just, oh, I'm just believed to to make myself feel better when I die or when I'm having a hard time, It's like, no. The things that I pray for come to pass. They literally happen. Like, God is real. He can really help you. He can really help you with any situation that you're in and any hurt that you have in your heart. He can just sweep it out, he'll help you deal with it, and sometimes it's hard when you're going through these learning processes, of there's friends that you need to cut off relationships with because they are not Christians. Cut them off. And if you don't, it's going to hurt when God has to do it for you. There's been instances like that too, like just playing with people on my video games, playing World of Warcraft and playing in the guild that I'm usually in, but they have horrible potty mouths, and the words that they say, potty, garbage, coming out their mouth all the time. Like, God is like, I do not want you in there. I do not want you listening to the swear words and the garbage and the lust and the filthy language. And because I was so stubborn, I was like pushing against it, just not doing it, not separating myself, not coming away from it. And then everything exploded, and to where I had no choice but to get away. Yeah. And that's, yeah, that is the life of, that's my testimony and part of being a Christian now, I just listen to God. I try to do what he says. I try to listen to correction. I try to do it quickly so I don't have to go through the hard parts of God doing it for you and it hurting more. So God's been wanting me to do this for a while. He stopped giving me strength to do anything. Literally, I was like, God, what's happening? I can't do recordings. I can't make a video. I can't do my ASMR videos. I just go to sleep right when I put my kids to bed. I'm just sleeping, what happened? I used to have this, his strength was gone, and I was trying to figure out God, why, what's happening? I have no strength to do anything. I'm just tired, I don't have your strength of anything. What do you want me to be doing right now? What am I supposed to be doing, I was basically like, God, I don't know what to do. And he kept saying, Crystal, share your testimony. Testimony. I want you to do that testimony. And that testimony kept coming back into my brain. This is what I want you to do. You keep putting this off. So I'm stopping giving you my strength for anything. I've stopped helping you with everything until you do this. I just figured that out just now. You guys, sometimes it's hard to figure out what God wants you to do. But believe it, he will let you know. And sometimes it's just what you don't want to do, okay? You just need to obey and go, because he's going to stop everything else. He ain't going to help you with nothing else unless you do this one thing that he's been I want you to do this. It's been running through your mind. It keeps coming back up in your head. I want you to do this. So you just need to do it. Because apparently I'm just learning that he's going to stop everything else until you get it done. So, it's been so long since I've done a video. I don't even know if anybody's going to watch this long. But if you did watch 38 minutes, it's 38 before I edit this. But if you did watch all the way to the end, please put some stars. Put some stars in the comments if you did watch all the way. Just a message for anybody who also watches all the way to this point. When God wants you to do something, it doesn't matter how many people are going to see it. It doesn't matter how many people you're going to reach. You think it's going to reach. You think only one person's going to watch the video. And I don't really think that many people is going to be interested in this testimony. But does that matter? No. Because only doing God's will matters. And only making God happy is what matters. So no matter what you think, why you think, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. It's no, God told you to do it. you just do it. Who cares about how many people are going to see it? Who cares about how many people you're going to talk to? There's probably only one person that it actually really matters for, you know? So that's my little message for that. But I think I have pretty much gone through everything. Whatever the Lord wants me to do next, I will do. But he just kind of wanted me to share a little more in depth, a little more about, you know, what I went through and what I experienced. And, you know, maybe somebody can relate. It's meant for someone. It's meant to help somebody. And so it was important enough that I had to stop everything else and just do this video. So I love you. I pray that you will come to Christ, come to Jesus. I wanted to say Jesus and Christ, and then I went to church. So I hope this testimony blessed you. I hope that it helped you in some way. I am doing good. I miss everybody. And yeah, just doing God's will, whatever it is. Wherever I end up going, that's where I'm going. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys again in the next one, whenever that will be. Bye.